I will not be voting for Donald Trump. I believe that given the respective choices and out of respect for the democracy, I will be casting my vote for Kamala Harris.
That has been a difficult conclusion to come to?
It has been a very difficult conclusion to come to because I am a Republican who was brought up in a party that respected democracy and whose leaders, the Bushes, the Reagans, those wonderful, solid, rational people who took the oath of office to uphold, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States very seriously, and also respected the rule of law. And as a lawyer, as a member of the bar, that is something that is very important to me. Respect for the law, respect for the democracy, respect for the historic tradition, and the peaceful transition of power without regard to electoral outcomes. Reasonable people can differ. Reasonable people can differ. And that's the beauty and the strength of a democracy. I can disagree with what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. That's a democracy. In the past, that's certainly been the case, and without knowing what's going on in other states, Pennsylvania will figure prominently, absolutely prominently. It's hard to imagine an electoral majority without Pennsylvania. I don't put much credence in polls, and the reason I don't is it's called the power of the secret ballot. You can ask me who I'm going to vote for as a pollster, and I may or may not give you the answer that is out of my heart and perhaps not even in my mind. However, the second I enter into that voting booth and have the quietude of being with myself, and some people say with their God, only watching, you cannot predict what a person will do. That's why we have a secret ballot. That's why it's so important as an essence of democracy to have that secret ballot where I can exercise my choice without repercussion, without anybody knowing it. And so the polls don't mean much to me. They really don't. The real poll is the poll on Election Day.
Taking into account your own words, you are imagining a different outcome from the polls? I mean, the polls says one thing, you seem to think that the things are going to go otherwise.
Yes, I do, in the sense that, number one, polls are just an indication of one person's opinion at a given point in time. Any number of things can happen between now and the election. But ultimately, the poll that matters is the election count. And we never know. You only know if I voted, not who I voted for. And as long as I have the sanctity of that secret that exists between me and my conscience, you can never know whether the polls are accurate.
What do you think? You said before that the democracy is at stake in this election. What do you think are the most pressing issues for the American people in order to choose between Kamala Harris or Donald Trump?
That's a really great question. And specifically, I think that the issues boil down to the fundamental issues that always exist. How do I feel? Do I feel better off? Do I feel worse off? Two, the issue of trust. can identify with one candidate or the other candidate. And then finally, and this is one of those intangibles, what does it mean for the future of the country, for not having had children, but individuals I talk to, what does it mean for my grandchildren and their children? What does it mean for the future? And the optimism that is an inherent part of a democracy. You can't live in a democracy and not be optimistic, because you are trusting the people to do the right thing ultimately, and you're trusting leaders to have the foresight, integrity, and courage to not just uphold the letter of the law, but the intent of the law.
What about women? I mean, this election seems like it's going to be really important for women. From Roe v. Wade, Kamala Harris has made a strong defense of the abortion rights, for the women's rights. Donald Trump says what he says. Do you think that women could change the outcome of this election?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think as a matter of numbers, I've seen numbers where more women vote than men. I've seen certainly there can be a belief that women have more at stake in terms of reproductive rights and should be energized to vote one way or another. I think that's a reasonable presumption. But again, we're back to the power of the secret ballot.
One last question. How do you imagine November 6th, that day, the day after the election day? What country do you foresee?
I don't believe the election will be decided by that morning. I think there will be indeterminacy. I think that there will be issues in terms of it's going to be very close. Very, very, very close. I don't see it otherwise. If that is the case, we may not have a winner on November 6th. There may be some indeterminacy. The question is, how will the candidates, the two electoral combatants, approach the electorate in either a calming way or a not so calming way? My hope, and hope springs eternal, my hope is that, as Abraham Lincoln put it, the angels of our better nature will prevail.
Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, friend.